Hey y'all, welcome to the Pungo Prairie. Now a lot of y'all have written in requesting more information about my camp equipment. Like, who made your tent? Where'd you get your chuck box? How about those roll top tables and that little camp stove? Well, I figure the best way to answer a lot of those questions is just give y'all a little tour around the camp here like I'm fixing to do now. So don't go nowhere, because you don't want to miss this. Now a whole lot of y'all have written in things like, if you can't fit it in your backpack, it ain't camping. Well, let me tell you, I've certainly done my share of setting up backpack style hunting camps. Waking up in the morning in a sleeping bag covered in snow, having to thaw out ice frozen solid in the pot before you can make the coffee, and slipping feet into frozen boots that never got a chance to dry from fording that creek on the way back to camp the evening before. My tent camps have evolved born from decades of experience, learning the hard way what is necessary in a comfortable, warm, dry camp to keep spirits and energy up, being well rested from a rigorous day in the field for not just days, but weeks and even months of wilderness living while in pursuit of big game animals like deer, elk, moose, and bear. Believe it or not, I have scaled down the size and weight of my tents from those I had custom made years ago, before this generation of camp gear that I have now. Now first, let me tell you about the tents. I kind of sat down at the drawing board and decided the customized features that I would want to see in my tents. So once I did that and laid it out, I contacted Salem Tent and Awning in Salem, Oregon, which took some of their standard models they had and got them to customize to my liking and the things that would suit me the best, which they did a marvelous job of. Now, I've had two tents from Salem, and both of them I've had for almost 30 years, and they are still serving me well. Now, you might take notice that this tent I have set up this time is a different one than I set up during my video Good Camp. This one is a 10 by 10 with 4-foot high sidewalls instead of 5 foot, and it's 8 foot high at the ridge and has an open porch fly on it. Now, talk about a sturdy little tent. The other night, Sunday night, winds came down off of that mountain when the front came through, and it blew all night long with gusts up to 50, 60 miles an hour. Yet this little tent stood fast through it all. And part of the reason is the way I have it staked down. And we'll tell you a little bit about that. The guy rope system on these tents is the secret to having a sturdy tent that'll hold up in a storm. But these little about 9 or 10 inch plastic stakes that the manufacturer supplies, forget about it for staking down those guy ropes. They're not going to survive and hold that tent firm when those winds come blasting down off the mountain or across the mesa. That's why I went ahead and custom made these longer steel stakes out of 5/8 inch rebar, which I welded these little hooks onto that the guy ropes cut in, and then stake them at a good angle, and be sure you do them extra firm at the northern exposure or the windy exposure of your camp. These have not let me down in all these years. Take these little plastic stakes and use them instead for staking out around the sod cloth instead of these little stakes that they give you for that purpose. And here you see one of the stakes for the sod cloth. And these are plentiful all around the tent, so it really holds that bottom down good. Now, Salem Tent and Awning makes a standalone frame available in either aluminum or steel construction. I chose the aluminum, of course, because it's lightweight, and yet it's still very structurally strong and plenty support for this tent to stand up in all kinds of conditions. The way they weld in those gussets and all the connecting pieces really give a lot of structural integrity to the frame of this tent. And I like the way they leave a vent opening at the top of the gable in the ridge. It gives you nice ventilation should you get some smoke in the tent, or just to make sure that you got good air circulation. And the stove jacks that they include with the silicone ring where the stovepipe goes through have never failed yet. Now, they sew in a sod cloth, which I turn in rather than have to flap out and put sod around, because I like it like that. And then I come and put this vapor barrier down, and then I got this nice heavy duty 10-ounce canvas floor. Those little Velcro straps to kind of keep it all from sliding around. And you got these nice heavy duty vinyl zippers sewn in here for the door, which have never broken or failed me yet in all these 30 years I've been using this tent. And like I said, the center height in this 4-foot wall tent is right at 8 feet at the ridge. And the gussets in those fittings make the perfect place for a S-hook to hang your lantern. Now I don't have a fly stretched over the top of this tent like I did in the 10x12 you saw in Good Camp. But really, having that extra layer of protection up there really helps to keep down the condensation should snow start falling on the tent or when it rains. And then having a little extra protrusion along the eaves keeps the sidewalls dry. If you brush up against them with your sleeping bag, you don't wick in any water. Now this 10x10 has a real simple rear window in it with a fine mesh screen and a zip up drop down flap on the inside that you don't have to roll up and collect water from the outside. Now in my other tent, the 10x12, I actually cut out a section in that flap and sewn in a piece of isinglass so I could see out the window without having to let the cold air into the tent. Now my little camp stove here I got from Salem Tent and Awning as well, even though they don't manufacture it. And to be quite honest, I don't know if this stove's available any longer. Like I say, I've had this one about 30 years and I really would like to find another one just like it. The legs at the bottom, they fold up. The warming shelf right here, that comes off. Over here on this side is a 5-gallon stainless steel water tank, so you always have hot water on hand, and a nice bronze hose bib down here at the bottom to draw it off. Now I like keeping this little stainless steel bucket full of nice hot soapy water on the stove here, so you can come in anytime and wash your hands off if you need to, and I keep this little mop in here in case I need it. Now in its younger years, this stove was practically airtight. That door latches down nice and snug there, and you can bank this fire at night and only have to get up and add wood maybe about once or twice. It locks down so good, and you can adjust your draft right here with this little sliding gate. I just made the hearth for the wood stove there out of a little piece of plywood with some slats on the bottom. Makes it a little easier to level the stove up. One thing I need to tell you about the stove, you always want to put a layer of gravel from the creek down in the bottom. That way it helps protect the bottom of that stove and keep it from burning out on you. Makes it last for years. Now the water tank, the stove pipe, this pot right here, the warming shelf, along with the wood rack frame, all nest inside this stove. The legs fold up underneath it for nice compact transport. Okay, my table here is a roll top wooden table. I've got several of these. This top rolls up all around the frame that folds up right here, and it's made in the good old US of A by Beyer of Orono, Maine. This one right here started out like the table I just showed you, but I kind of customized it a bit. I made it so it stood up taller, didn't fold it out all the way down, cut the top down so it would fit over top of the cot there, and I could get my legs underneath it, but at the same time have a nice dresser table for my duffel bag and other equipment. I just cut out these little wedges right here, which go right down like so to help keep that thing from folding out. Of course, that's a little redundant because when you drill these holes where it locks down into the dowels on either side of that structural member, it locks it in place anyway, so it can't spread open anymore. Now the cot is like this 500-pound capacity heavy duty model that's like wrestling a bear when you got to put it together. And I got a foam mattress pad in here with a sleeping bag liner, the sleeping bag on top, and this really nice little kind of cot nightstand that you can get it. This one came from Cabela's. It's got all kinds of pouches to store things. Got a little pocket here for a drink, a pouch you can store a sidearm, your cell phone, a flashlight, and the whole thing is a big long gun rack for storing your hunting rifle. Well, that's pretty much the tent. You can lay it out, customize it any way you want for your own particular liking. But this tent, this little 10x10, will actually accommodate 2 people very comfortably on an extended hunt. All you have to do is lay the other cot about right angles down there to where the dresser table is, and I've got a couple other dresser tables that are cut down a little bit smaller for when 2 people come. Still have room for the table over here on the side. Your stove and all will stay right where it is. And of course now we'll go out here and I'll show you the porch and the galley set up. I'm not going to tell you much about the chuck box because there's a whole nother video out there that should be up on YouTube by the time you see this one. It's going to go into that chuck box and all its features. Now this little 2-burner propane range oven combination is made by Camp Chef. You can get them online, and I know they're available at Bass Pro in their catalog. This little oven right here is big enough to roast a 10-pound turkey. It's got its own built-in friction igniter system for the burners as well as the oven. That's just another little roll top table. I think I got that one at Walmart, but I haven't seen them in there for quite a while. Now this aluminum slat roll top table that I have the Camp Chef and the chuck box on is made by Coleman. Now that's just a little quick run through for you on some of my camping equipment. I hope that answers some of y'all's questions, but if you have more, you can always contact me at my website, pungoprairie.com. No, I didn't show you my John tent or my shower tent, but both of those are available from Salem Tent and Awning as well. And that, girls and boys, is just one way that we set up camp on the Pungo Prairie.